Wow. Our American public education system and parents, obviously, have failed some people. And this is no judgment to anybody who's talked about, like, what if I have a W-2? What is a W-4? Because we should have been taught this in school. And I guess I'm fortunate enough that my parents walked me through the tax forms when I was younger. So before we get into how we can withhold and do all that stuff, let's go over some of the tax forms. Now, I got so many questions about what a W-4 is. So, a W-4 is officially called the Employee's Withholding Certificate, and it's a tax form that you fill out when you start a new job in the US, and it tells your employer how much federal tax income to withhold from your paycheck. And you are legally entitled to update your W-4 whenever you would like. I am not saying you can go exempt whenever you would like, because there are restrictions around that, but you can update your W-4 form at any point in time, and that is completely legal. And if anybody is telling you you are unable to update your W-4 and add more withholdings, I'm not saying go exempt, but just update your withholdings, that is illegal. Okay, so this is what the W-4 form looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and pause so everybody can just look this over. Okay, so W-4 form. This is what you fill out when you first get employed. This portion of the form is where you can do your withholdings. So some of the things people withhold are their dependents. So that's your children. That would go in your withholding section. If you have multiple jobs, that can go in your withholding section. Now, every state should have their own version of a W-4 form. So, I live in the state of Oregon. This is the Oregon W-4 form. It's pretty similar to your federal form, but it is slightly different, and most states should have their own state W-4 form or their own employee withholding certificate per state. Now, a lot of you said you have a W-2. You absolutely do get a W-2. If you are a salaried employee, an hourly employee, aka not an independent contractor and don't own your own business, you get a W-2 at the end of the year from your employer. While a W-2 form is separate from the W-4, the W-4 is needed in order for you to get your W-2, if that makes sense. However, one difference here is that you don't get a W-2 from your state as well as the federal government. You just get a W-2 from your employer that has everything for federal and state taxes on it. Now, when I first started doing taxes, I didn't have TurboTax or H&R Block or any of those online tools to do it. I had to do it manually. And believe it or not, this is the form. So again, I live in Oregon. We use the form OR40 or a 1040. I used a 1040 easy, I think, when I was in high school. And the federal government's 1040 form is basically the same thing. Now, with online tools, you can absolutely still see these forms when you submit your taxes at the end of the year. I always save a copy of my taxes from TurboTax, and I have my 1040 forms for both the federal and the state government. Okay, so that kind of covers the basic tax forms of what I'm talking about when I'm saying a W-4. So your W-4 is the form you fill out when you are employed. You can go online sometimes, like with my employers when I was at Nike and now at the small nonprofit I work at, I could go online and update my W-4. We used QuickBooks at the small nonprofit I was at, but for Nike, we used ADP, and there was just a section on the website that I could do that. Now, I want to make this perfectly clear. We are being maliciously compliant. This means we are still going to pay our federal taxes, but we're going to use the IRS tax estimator tool to see how little we can pay. Or you can also talk to a professional like a CPA or an accountant and see what they recommend. I am currently reaching out to CPAs I know and trying to get more information on how we can do this and how we can pay as little in federal taxes. Now, if you do a larger withholding from your federal taxes, you can go onto the IRS's website and make a quarterly payment. In the link in my bio, I am starting to put together a Withhold 2025 resource folder in Google Drive that people can go and use and leverage. And as I have people who are willing to collaborate with me on this, I will likely add them as owners as well. If you guys would be interested in me doing a live in which I walk through the estimator tool or try and get other CPAs and people to come on and answer tax questions for you, I'm more than happy to do that. Just let me know in the comments. But again, I'm not telling people to not pay their federal taxes. We're just trying to be maliciously compliant, which means we're going to fuck with their cash flow. And if only 10% of us started messing with the government's cash flow, they would be in some serious issues, okay? Anyways, spread the word about Withhold 2025. Make your own videos, do your own posts, because this is not just a me thing. This is a we thing. I am encouraging everybody to get out and speak about Withhold 2025. And again, as I get more resources up, I will put them in the Google Drive. The link is in my bio.